The 2024 offseason is now in full swing, and I have 5 things that I think the Washington Commanders absolutely have to do this offseason in order to have success moving forward in this franchise. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry. Today we're going over the 2024 offseason checklist. I got 5 items to share with you guys here coming up on today's show. But before we get things going, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now to make sure you never miss any Commanders breaking news all season long. Whenever they hire their new head coach, when they hire supplementary coaches, their new OC, DC, if they make a move for a quarterback, whatever the case may be this offseason, when they start making moves in free agency, we're going to have videos for you guys right here on the channel, 100% free, and you guys can get all the details of those latest moves. Also, we're going to be doing a bunch of news and rumors content surrounding the NFL draft and NFL free agency throughout the 2024 offseason. We're going to be telling you guys the players that the Commanders should target at every position. We're going to be telling you guys which draft prospects they are going to be interested in, which guys that they're interviewing, they're bringing in for pre-draft visits, the whole 9 yards. We're going to keep you guys updated. And, oh, yeah, it's all 100% free. So if you love the Washington Football Club here and you want extensive Commanders coverage throughout this offseason, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. So, of course, the first one's obvious, all right? You fire Ron Rivera. Praise the Lord. First it was Dan Snyder. Now Ron Rivera's out of here. Now we have an opportunity to go out and get a head coach for the future of this franchise and finally get this team back on the right track. If you guys didn't see our head coaching candidates video earlier, I believe we put it out last week, you guys can check that out today by clicking the link in the comments and description where I list my top 10 head coaching candidates for the Washington Commanders. And, if you don't want to watch that video, you just want kind of the shorter version of it, I go more in depth in that video. But my top 5 on my list, Ben Johnson, Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, number 1 on my list. Jim Harbaugh, number 2. Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator there in Houston, is number 3. Cliff Kingsbury, specifically, if Josh Harris really wants to go get Caleb Williams, I think Cliff and Caleb could make a nice team. And then Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator from the Seattle Seahawks, I think would be an excellent fit as well. But out of these 5 guys, Ben Johnson is the number 1 guy on my list for a reason. If they can get Ben Johnson as their next head coach, they absolutely have to do that. And the reports are indicating that GM Adam Peters and owner Josh Harris, they've already, quote-unquote, pre-selected Ben Johnson as this team's next head coach. So if Johnson wants to come to Washington, and listen, with a roster like this, with a ton of cap space, a bunch of great draft capital, all this different stuff, he can really mold this team in his image. And I think that would be very attractive to a coach like Ben Johnson. So I really hope that they end up getting this done. It was announced today that the Commanders will be interviewing Johnson on Friday via Zoom. Of course, Johnson has to prepare for that divisional football game this weekend when the Lions play this weekend. So won't be able to do an in-person one, but they will be able to interview him. So let me know down there in the comment section, who is your guy? Which coaching candidate around the league right now would you like to see as the next Commanders head coach? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by going into the comment section, finding that pinned comment. It's right there at the top of the comment section, and answer today's pinned question. Number 2 on my list, it's not just enough to get a good head coach, all right? It's just not. You got to get great supporting staff around him. This means getting a good offensive coordinator, a good defensive coordinator. You have to get a competent quarterbacks coach. You got to fill out your entire staff with people that are competent, with people that are good teachers, with people that can get the most out of their players each and every day in practice, all right? A big part of a great head coach is a great supplementary staff that's able to teach players, that's able to develop players, and really that over the course of this process, of course, that head coach and the leader of this organization is probably the biggest domino to fall. All those subsequent dominoes that might be a little bit smaller are still very, very important for this football team. All right, now number 3 on my list. And listen, I know that some people out there are Sam Howell supporters. They say, oh, the offensive line didn't give him any help. Eric Bieniemy's offense was terrible, blah, 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 blah. he had no chance. But listen, if you're drafting in the top 2 of the NFL draft, you got 2 quarterbacks like Caleb Williams and Drake May right there for the taking. I think you got to take that opportunity. All right, and I know this team has other things that they need to fill. They need offensive tackle. They need edge rusher. They need so many things to fill out this roster in the coming years. But Sam Howell, guys, I mean, putting together a season like this, I mean, he had showed some good things, particularly in the early part of the season, but finishing with just a 63.4 completion percentage, not terrible, but definitely not great. 232 yards passing per game, and then the touchdown to interception ratio, man. This guy led the National Football League in interceptions this year. And listen, if they weren't drafting number 2 and they were drafting like 13th or something, I might be on board with bringing back Sam Howell. He showed some decent things. He was actually the most valuable rusher of the football at the quarterback position this year. There's reasons to believe in Sam Howell's future moving forward. However, I think that if you're going to pass on like a number 1 pick quality quarterbacks at the top of the draft like Caleb Williams and Drake May, you have to be 100% sure that the guy that you currently have and you're passing on those quarterbacks for isn't better, right? So you need to make sure that you have the guy here in Washington if you're going to pass on Caleb Williams and Drake May. And right now, guys, I'm just not there with Sam Howell, with the interceptions, with the mental processing issues later in the season, with all the sacks. He held on to the football for a long time, had trouble getting to his check down throughout the season, with everything culminating in that terrible stretch in the final portion of that 2023 campaign. And with Caleb Williams and Drake May right there, I just don't think you can pass up on that opportunity. So if you had the choice between Caleb Williams or Drake May, let me know down there in the comment section which quarterback you're taking. Type CW for Caleb Williams or DM for Drake May. Now, before I get to the rest of my list here of checklist items for the Commanders this offseason, go ahead and check out our friends at Fanatics, and they're currently offering you guys a fantastic deal on this awesome and really stylish Commanders t-shirt combo. You get a short sleeve there in the burgundy and then the long sleeve in the white. You can wear these 2 shirts any time of the season. And honestly, guys, you get the best deals on NFL apparel during the offseason. So Fanatics has a great deal for you guys. If you check it out right now, chatsports.com/CommandersX2. If you use that link, Fanatics will know that we sent you. It's right down there in the comments and description of today's video. So if you need some more Commanders gear in your closet today for a great price, go to chatsports.com/CommandersX2 today. Number 4 on my list, you got to build the trenches, all right? So plain and simply right now, the Washington Commanders, they are rebuilding their roster. And when it comes to my team building philosophy and the way that I think most well-run organizations build their teams is that if you're rebuilding, and make no mistake about it, make no bones about it, this team is rebuilding right now, you have to start with the trenches, offensive and defensive line, and then also the high-value positions that include things like quarterback, number 1 wide receiver, number 1 corner, right? All these different positions that are high-paying in the league for good reasons because they are extremely foundational to the success of a football team. So the Washington Commanders need to hone in on the trenches and at those high-value positions, especially this offseason. Make sure you're in a good spot in those positions as you move forward into the future with this new coaching staff and new regime here in Washington. Really, you got to spend money on offensive line and edge rusher in free agency, in my opinion. There's just too many holes on the offensive line to just address it in the draft. I do expect them to spend early draft capital on both of these positions as well, but you still need a number 1 edge rusher. I think you probably got to get that guy in free agency, whether that be Brian Burns, Daniil Hunter, someone along those lines. You get one of those guys in free agency, and I think you got to fill out some of the starting spots on the offensive line as well in free agency. But by all means as well, if you have the opportunity to take offensive linemen and edge rushers that you like in the NFL draft, you absolutely have to pull the trigger and pull the trigger early. So the last thing on my list here is that you have to set the stage for success. Now, what do I mean by this? And this definitely ties into the head coach and the supporting staff that head coach hires. What you're doing right now is that from top to bottom, from ownership with Josh Harris, to the front office with Adam Peters, to the new head coach, hopefully Ben Johnson, all the way down to the players. You want to set up a culture of success that can eventually down the road lead this team to Super Bowl championships and title contention. All right, the whole goal of being in this league is to get your football team into title contention eventually. Now going into a first year of a rebuild, it's going to be very important that they set the foundation for that rebuild. You're going to have a rookie quarterback next year and a first-year head coach, most likely, which pretty much puts you out of title contention for next season. But what you're doing in 2024 is establishing that winning culture that can set the stage for winning in the years to come. I have all the faith in the world in Josh Harris and Adam Peters. I hope that they hire the right head coach. I hope they select the right quarterback. I hope they don't keep Sam Howell. I hope they make the right decisions with their available cap space and free agency, and I hope that they spend their draft capital wisely in the 2024 NFL Draft. They do all those things. I think we're going to be looking at a 2024 season here that has a lot of hope for the future here in Washington football. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Again, make sure you click that subscribe button because we got a bunch of great content coming your way. My perfect offseason plan, free agency targets, offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator candidates when whoever is hired as the next head coach. Hopefully it's Ben Johnson. But we're going to have a bunch of great content coming your way here this offseason. It's going to be an awesome, awesome time here over these next couple of months. You're not going to want to miss any of it. So do me a favor, click that subscribe button and join the Commanders Report family today.